Hello, this is my modelling for Mvfx Tb2 presentation. My name is Alfred Burgess and my UP number is 2178953. So for our theme, our inspiration was adventurer, and we had to use that theme to go off and create our own character and place him into a diorama. The thought process behind mine was more of an urban kind of like new age adventurer compared to a fantasy kind of character, so I have some kind of inspiration for the type of character it would be, whilst also kind of loosely basing it off of myself and my kind of style and interests. So as you can see, I've kind of got the kind of car that he would be leaning against in the shot. It was an idea I had kind of from the start, quite like a relaxed pose, of a kind of like quite cool, quite sleek car. For the kind of inspiration for the face, I kind of took from this annotation of a hat, as you can see in the bottom right, and on the bottom left is the kind of outfit style that I was looking for him to kind of wear, kind of like the overalls that a kind of engineer would wear, is that kind of would fit his theme and his environment being a car. And the graffiti kind of jumps out to me as something that would also be quite interesting if it was to be incorporated into it, as it's quite a loose art form compared to quite the rigid structured modelling of a car that would be made. So for the modelling process, I sculpted my meshes at first and then retopologized them into a more animatable mesh, which allowed me to have better deformations and more smooth kind of weight painting. That was on the character and on his clothes and on his shoes and everything. However, for the car itself, it was hard surface modelled, because the kind of complexity of a car couldn't be sculpted like that in terms of it's very rigid in its form, and using hard surface modelling allowed me to kind of control the mesh a lot more. However, I did also use mirrors and other kind of like modelling techniques to allow me to speed up my workflow, so I only had to model half of the car. Additionally, with the wheels, I only modelled one and could move it around, and this all allowed me to work much faster while still creating a high quality mesh. So for the texturing of the models, it was all done in Substance Painter. For the character, it was using a lot of mask layers and fill layers for the different materials, allowing me to kind of build the mesh up, making sure everything was on top of each other in the right order. Additionally, for the character, on his hands and legs, you can see that there is dripping paint. For this, I used one of the particle simulation brushes that can be found inside of Substance, which allows me to more accurately kind of imitate paint dripping down his arms as if he would have been using a can. For the car, the spray paint was added over the top once all the other parts of the car had been created, which just allowed me to have a bit of creative freedom, and using a tablet really allowed me to get those hand-drawn curves and shapes that you would expect from someone using a can, instead of dragging a mouse around on a screen. And that also came through on the actual base of the diorama as well. I found that also was a lot easier to paint using the tablet and using those spray painting brushes as well. So for the rigging of my character, I actually did it in Mixamo, which is an online piece of software which allows you to quickly rig your own characters and also find animations. So all it requires you to do is place the chin, the wrists, the elbows, the knees and the groin joints onto your mesh, and it will calculate it all for you and give you a good result of weight painting within about 3 or 4 minutes, which allowed me to speed up my workflow and focus more on the other aspects of the modelling and of the texturing that I was more focused and interested in. So it allowed me to kind of like centre my workflow around the areas that I wanted to improve more on. And once that was done, I could import that rig back into Maya and use it to model the rest of my character into the pose that he would want to be in. And here is my final render of that character in the diorama. I used a HDRI from a material lighting pack, which allows you to get a lot more interesting reflections compared to like a street view or any other kind of like realistic HDRI, because you're not having those realistic reflections on a mesh that is more stylized than basic. But thank you for listening to my presentation. This was my Mvfx module. Thank you.